Well, this is a video which clearly indicates who the real killer of Teresa Halbach is. And this you can see in the full video, full confession video of Brendan Dassey in YouTube. So I'm just going to play the excerpt so that you can understand.
So bring us into the garage again. You mentioned earlier that's when he threatened you. Tell us that.
That he threatened me that if I wouldn't say anything that he would stab me like he did to her, and that he was pissed off at her because of he wanted to get his blazer in the thing that like the last time she was there and he couldn't.
Now, as you can see, the blazer did not belong to Stephen Avery. The blazer belonged to someone else. Okay, in this confession, it clearly comes out when Brendan Dassey was questioned by the detectives, and they asked him that why did Stephen Avery kill Teresa Halbach. The real truth came out because this was very fresh in the confession, before he was tutored, before he was coerced into telling a version of story which the detectives wanted him to go ahead and say. This was the part where he actually went ahead and gave them the correct version. This was 11:21. That was very fresh into the confession. And he was asked, why did Stephen kill Teresa Halbach? Now, he cannot go ahead and disclose the name of the person who actually killed because he's probably very close to that person, right? He cannot go ahead and tell his name. And he helped him to actually go ahead and dispose the body. Now, in this confession, he very clearly says that the person came over to his house, told him to come out to help him with something in the garage. Now, the only thing is, he's saying it is Stephen Avery, but we are quite sure that it cannot be Steve Avery. I'll tell you the reasons why. Steve Avery, if he really killed Teresa Halbach on the Porsche, he's not going to go ahead and take, after hitting Teresa Halbach on the head or anything, or luring her into the room, he's not going to go ahead and take her back to the car and put him at the back of the car. It makes no sense. He's going to probably go ahead and bring Teresa Halbach into his house and then in some way probably imprison her or shackle her. That's the best course of action for Stephen Avery, right? But as per Brendan Dassey's testimony, very well into his confession, the very first confession which we are talking about, which many people don't see because you don't see the full confession. You see the 2-hour version. You never see the full confession of Brendan Dassey. In the full confession, if you see it, the first version which he tells the detective is that Steve Avery called him in his house and he came out, and Steve Avery took him to the garage, and when they opened the back of the car, the RAV4, they saw the body of Teresa Halbach there. Right? That is exactly what Brendan Dassey says. Now, that is a very funny thing. He goes ahead and confesses to something, and the second part of the confession, the detectives go ahead and completely change that version of his story because it doesn't suit their ends. Right? Because it makes no sense for Stephen Avery to hit Teresa Halbach on her head and then take the body to the car, put it at the back, and then again take it to the garage and then tell Brendan to come out and help him with the body. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Now, what happens when he actually goes ahead and confesses to the correct version of the stories? Now, if you look at the correct version of the stories, which is very fresh into the confession, which is at about 11:21, that is in the first half before 12 o'clock, he says a few very interesting things, Brendan Dassey, right? Firstly, he says that he is called by Stephen Avery to help him with something in the garage. Doesn't say what it is, but he calls him, right? When he goes into the garage, he sees the body in the back of the car. It's not covered with anything, and he very clearly says something more. He says she's dead. In that confession, he says that she is dead. Now, if she is dead, any and every indication of a sexual assault or anything within that short period goes out of the window. Even the very version of the detectives or that lurid story of Stephen taking Teresa into the room, shackling her with iron, everything goes out of the room. But this version of the story is the most pure, unquestioned one, because this is the part where he was probably tutored a little less. The second part, which is the most important part, which I showed you in the video, this has been brought forward by many members, but many people have missed this detail. When the detectives ask Brendan that why did Stephen Avery kill Teresa Halbach, that is the clincher, because that actually gives away the real identity of the killer, because the motive does not match. And it's very interesting. When the detectives ask Brendan that why did Stephen kill him, and he says, I don't know. So he says, no, we know. So you please go ahead and tell us. And then they coach him that did he threaten you? So when he's coached, he says, yes, he threatens me with a knife so that it can kill the way he killed Teresa Halbach. And then he goes into the most important part. Why did he kill Teresa Halbach? And the actual motive comes out. The actual motive is that his blazer was not photographed and put into the magazine wherein he really wanted it, even for the first time. Now, I'm not sure whether that is the actual motive or not, but I believe the person concerned actually communicated this very fact to Brendan Dassey, and this is exactly what he felt was the reason that guy killed Teresa Halbach. And I do not want to go ahead and disclose the name of the person who owned the blazer, owned the SUV blazer. We all know who that person is, and we all know that blazer was crushed. Why was it crushed? For what? What was the reason why that blazer was crushed? It makes no sense. And that is the clincher which actually goes ahead and proves or shows or indicates who the real killer is. You may not be able to establish beyond reasonable doubt, but what it does is, what this confession of Brendan Dassey does is, and what it has actually gone ahead and done is, it has completely gone ahead and shown the fallacy of the American judicial system, that when it comes to an impressionable person, an impressionable young man like Brendan Dassey, whose IQ is quite less, how can you go ahead and believe his confession, one part of the confession which comes later, and not take into account the other part of the confession which comes in the beginning? Many people say that there's a lot of physical evidence connecting Stephen Avery to the case. There's a lot of physical evidence. But the moment you know that there are two parties involved in this case, wherein one party is heavily obligated to the victim, I mean to say to Stephen Avery, then there is conflict of interest. And when there is conflict of interest, then the collection of evidence and the examination of evidence by that state authority is completely put into question. More so when certain members from that community or that police force, we know for sure, was biased against Stephen Avery. So that physical evidence does not prove anything. It just proves that yes, the state authority had access to go ahead and doctor evidence in any way possible to be absolved of the liability that they committed a mistake with respect to Stephen Avery. They got away with a French fry of an amount, whereas they had to pay possibly millions of dollars for their mistake, right? So that is a very, very important fact, and more so when you're talking about the state authority who say, no, listen, they were not, there was another state who came into play and they went ahead and they collected the evidence, they examined the evidence. The primary state authority who was a party in this case, they had nothing to do with. Whom are you kidding? Please. Guys, we know when it comes to the police, everybody is in cahoots with each other. Two state authorities, two state police. Nobody is going to go ahead and say, hey, you did something wrong, so we are going to go ahead and get all the evidence and everything so that you are put on the fryer. Sorry. When it comes to the police, be it India, be it America, be it any place, they all are a team. Very good. Excellent. They all are a team. They are not going to go ahead and possibly implicate another. They are all in cahoots, right? They are all going to go ahead and indulge in this shenanigan in order to put an innocent man away for life. And this is exactly what has happened. I have clearly shown that there is a confession by Stephen Avery, and it's available on YouTube. It's a full confession wherein of Brendan Dassey, wherein he states that he was called by Stephen Avery to the garage, wherein at the back of the car the body of a woman was there who was evidently dead, was identified as Teresa Halbach, and he states that the motive was that he killed her because she did not go ahead and take a photo of the blazer, which could be put in the magazine or something, wherein you wanted to do it the first time around. Now, I'm not going to say anything, but Stephen Avery did not go ahead and own a blazer, and this kind of an harebrained motive makes no sense. So, who could have probably said something like this? Who actually owned the blazer? And we all know who owned the blazer. We've got two witness testimonies who have clearly stated that yes, they saw that person pushing the RAV4 into the yard. A signed affidavit. And the state or the judiciary is taking no notice, no cognizance of it. You cannot do that. You cannot go ahead and just tear down a testimony. Why will a person come back after 2, 3, 4, 5 years and say, hey, I saw this guy doing it? For what is he getting? Is he getting some money out of it? Sorry. Please search, please examine, please try and find out whether that guy is really getting any money out of it. I don't think so. This is a terrible miscarriage of justice which is happening. Yes, Stephen Avery is not a saint. Okay, maybe he is evil to a certain extent. Great. But you cannot accuse him of a crime which he hasn't committed. That is wrong. Yes, you want to jail him for throwing a cat into the fire. Very good. Take him into the sequel of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof or whatever and jail him. Fine. But you cannot go ahead and jail him for Teresa Halbach's murder when he hasn't really committed it. Why are you guys doing it? America judicial system, woe on you if you're going ahead and protecting this kind of a ridiculous injustice. Your judicial system is the best in the world. Each and everything has been recorded. Everything is in front of you. It's in front of your eyes. Just open it for review and bring this man out of jail. Yes, you have to pay him for all the anguish which you have done to him. But do the right thing, man. Do the right thing. Don't behave like this, and don't just look at all these crazy documentaries which are coming, convicting a murderer. Stephen Evans. What was that? That was a lurid soap opera. Nothing. Nobody concentrated on the facts. Nobody concentrated on the evidence. It was just to go ahead and tarnish the character of Stephen Avery. Fine, that's fact-based. But hey, I might be the worst man on earth. I might be very evil. I might come home drunk. I might take drugs. I might do a lot of evil things. But if I really don't go ahead and kill a woman, why are you Why are you saying, yeah, that because you are so evil, you've killed the woman? That's no logic. Convict me on the basis of the evidence which you have in this case, and it is zero. It is zero. You have evidence which is allegedly planted by state players who were legally obligated to Stephen Avery to deliver a huge sum of money, so there was conflict of interest. They colluded with another state police who were hand in hand with them and planted a lot of evidence which completely implicated Stephen Avery. Then you take into account a confession by an impressionable boy, Brendan Dassey, who has not one but many versions of his confession. One version is that he went to Stephen Avery's house and then he helped him kill Teresa Halbach. They both engaged in sexual assault in his shack and everything. Not one shred of physical evidence found there, by the way, in his bedroom. So you have a guy who's planting wealth of evidence over a second or two on the car, here, there, but in the bedroom where the real act happens, there's not even one shred of evidence. Are you kidding me? Are you crazy, guys? And more so when Brendan Dassey has actually confessed to what actually has happened. But the only thing he has done is, in the first version of the confession, which starts at 11 o'clock or so and leads up to 12 o'clock, the only thing which happens here is, which is the most important part of the whole thing, he substitutes the real killer with Stephen Avery. That's the only thing which has happened. Since the matter is under sub judice, I cannot go ahead and name that person. But we all know who that person is. Okay, we all know that. The blazer did not belong to Stephen Avery. And then from where will he get this freaking idea? Why that, as I showed you in this video, Brendan Dassey, where will he get this freaking idea that, hey, he killed her because the photo of the blue blazer was not taken and he got pissed off on her? He is definitely guilty. And there is another person with him who has actually helped him. Now, yes, you cannot go ahead and make conspiracy theories. I'm also not a big conspiracy theory fan. But I am just showing you exactly what I heard. And that is available. The problem is when we go to YouTube, we just search Brendan Dassey confession. No. Search Brendan Dassey full confession. Go through 11 o'clock. From 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Then the whole matter becomes clear to you. Whole matter becomes clear to you. And you realize that Stephen Avery has not killed Teresa Halbach. That first version was inconvenient to the detectives. So what they did was, in the second version of the confession, they coached him, they tutored him, and they fed all these things to Brendan Dassey, and he just kind of imagined and put in words and things because he just wanted to get out of that situation. It is all the more evident because at the end he thinks that, hey, I'm just going to go home and watch wrestling, or I'm just going to go home and play PS2. He had no clue of his Miranda rights. He had no clue of what he was doing. And an impressionable man or a person like him, it was a criminal sin for these police detectives to do what they did. They found a boy or a man who was, I'm sorry, a boy, not a man, a boy who was impressionable, who had a low IQ, and they realized that this person was a means to their end to put away a person who was inconvenient to the state police. They needed to do it. That is exactly how it happened. And it is playing out in front of our eyes. The best part of the American judicial system is everything is recorded, so I can actually watch it and I can understand. I can actually understand exactly what has happened in this case. I'm still sad and disgusted with how things are going. How people have changed their mind after convicting a murderer, which was simply a soap opera, tarnishing Stephen Avery's character. Yes, I also agree he's a bad man. He's a horrible man. He's an evil man. But he did not kill Teresa Halbach, please. Just because he's evil, he's bad, he's disgusting, he's thrown a cat into a fire, etc., 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 doesn't mean that he has killed Teresa Halbach. If he has killed Teresa Halbach, come with hard evidence. Not with planted evidence, not with evidence which is suspicious, wherein a party which is collecting and isolating that evidence is a player, which can lead to conflict of interest. You cannot do that. Any test, no test passes when you have the state police involved, wherein there is a conflict of interest, where you have to pay millions of dollars, which is going to possibly make the state police go bankrupt. You cannot. It is wrong. More so when it is surrounded with such suspicious circumstances. This death. It is so unfortunate. It is so unfortunate. And every day it goes by, I just watch this injustice being played out. And I would just request all our very fanatics, fans, to be strong. It's not as if I'm a fan of Stephen Avery. Let me get it very clear here. I'm not a fan of Stephen Avery. I'm a fan of truth. And the truth should come out. And we owe it to Teresa Halbach that her real killer is caught and put behind bars. That is the reason I'm saying this, doing this. Not because I'm a huge fan of Stephen Avery. I have a poster of Stephen Avery in my room. No. The truth should be told, should be communicated, and there are too many people who are roaming free, having a ball of a time, having a gala time, whereas they are the ones who have actually killed and who have got away with murder. I hope you like this segment. It's after a very long time I posted this segment, and I hope the American Supreme Court takes notice and cognizance of this case and does something to free Stephen Avery. It is very wrong, and I feel even Brendan Dassey should be set free, because at best he was an accessory to this murder, and he was completely he's an impressionable man who was just coerced into this situation by his relative. Yes, by his relative. But it was not Stephen Avery. Let's be very clear and frank about it. He did this all for someone who was very close to him, closer than Stephen Avery. But he did it. My heart goes out from Brendan Dassey. And Stephen Avery, I really don't know what to say, because he might have done a lot of evil stuff, but getting convicted of a crime twice, first time it was wrong, second time again, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, absolutely. This is American judicial system. This is what you guys are doing, man. Do something. This is bleeding ridiculous, absurd. This is disgusting. We are all believing this whole story because Brendan Dassey substituted someone in his confession for Stephen Avery, nothing else. And the undoctored, undiluted version comes in at the very beginning of the confession. If you go to YouTube, search full confession of Stephen Brendan Dassey, it starts at 11 o'clock and it ends at 12, and you'll know clear as water exactly what has happened. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I hope you like this segment. It's been a long time. I have not told anybody. I have not talked about the Stephen Avery case. I hope you got it. Hope you understood exactly. I hope I could really present it well. And I hope Stephen Avery is set free soon, because every day you put him in jail, you keep him in jail, it is just a big blot on the American judicial system, nothing else. Big black blot. Okay, so you should set both of them free as soon as possible. So that's it. I hope you like this segment. It was wonderful talking to you all. I hope you watch the Stephen Avery segment, which I posted for a long time, after a long time, and I hope you get this understanding. I will again do another video to reiterate this issue, because I want to keep this thing very simple. More facts you put in it, the more confusing this case becomes. But it's actually a very, very simple case. And it is more than apparent, as I showed you with the confession, that Brendan Dassey knew who was the person who killed Teresa Halbach and how she was killed. It involved no sexual assault. It was more of an altercation wherein he wanted to go ahead and get his blue blazer photographed, and she probably didn't want to do it, and that led to an altercation or something, some heated argument or something happened at the spur of the moment wherein he must have accidentally hit her or something, which resulted in her death. Then that person concerned put Teresa Halbach in the back of the RAV4 and drove her to the yard. Or we are not very clear, because Brendan Dassey is not very clear in identifying the car, whether it was a RAV4 or not, because he said greenish blue. So it could be that he drove Teresa Halbach back in the blazer, and that is where that is the reason why the blazer was crushed, because there must have been some evidence which was there. So the best thing for the party was to go ahead and crush the blazer. So there was no evidence of that, and the RAV4 was possibly driven by someone else to another location, which was again pushed back to the yard later on in order to implicate Stephen Avery. So these are the two plots where we need to think about it, but I believe the latter part is more because it fits the version of the witness testimonies, wherein they saw the concerned person pushing the RAV4 with another person into the yard. So this is very interesting. And listen, by all intents, this very person also was one of the key witnesses to star witnesses which implicated Stephen Avery. So a family member going against another family member just for the sake of it, come on, will not do it until and unless there is some ulterior motive, and that ulterior motive can only be when you yourself are more guilty than others. Okay? So, listen, we all know exactly what has happened now. Okay? So, hope it is a matter of time that the police are understanding enough and they realize exactly what has happened and do not go ahead and keep on believing the mistake which they have committed, just to put a person away, because that would help them save their department from millions of dollars. That's not the right way to go about it. Anyways, I hope you like the segment. Lovely talking to you all. Take care. Bye.